Hello, and welcome to Women in Retail Talks, the podcast where C-suite executive women in the retail space share their stories of professional growth, leadership development, personal journeys, and more. I'm Marie Albajes, managing editor of Women in Retail, a membership-based community of executive women at leading retailers and brands. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Kristie D'Ambrosio-Carrell, the CEO of Dacora. She's the first woman to found and lead a car company offering ultra-luxury electric vehicles. Kristie and I talk about this historic accomplishment, the legacy that she wants to leave behind, what leading a brand acquisition taught her, and so much more. So, Kristie, I'm going to bring you in. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me, Marie.
I'm so excited for this conversation. I mean, your story stood out to me in so many ways. I think I found out about you from a Fortune article that recently came out. Like I said in the intro, you're, a female leader in a male-dominated industry. You're starting not only a new car company, but an ultra luxury car company, which, is unheard of. And then, the fact that you're also building an all-electric vehicle in 2025. So all of those things really caught my attention. I'd love for you to just start by giving us a high level overview of why. Why did you decide to pursue this?
I think the why really started many, many years ago, but I grew up in the garage with my dad, learning how to fix cars is my earliest engineering memories, and that is what has propelled me to a career in engineering. So for me, cars were always the beginning. I grew up with a love of not only cars and how they're made and how to fix them, but also American cars. And my dad was a big believer in only buying American cars and supporting our local economy. And that really stayed with me. And so when I was about 12 years old, I remember asking him, what is the best American car you can buy? I know what the British version is and I know what the Italian version is, but what's the American version? And his response really stuck with me, which is there isn't one.
Mm.
There hasn't really been an ultra luxury automotive brand that exclusively does ultra luxury cars in America since before World War II. So it's kind of been a lifelong mission to create a voice for America in the ultra luxury automotive space and show the world what we believe this category, is lacking. That's what brought us to today. My co-founder is also my husband, and we share obviously our love of cars. It's something that brought us together very early on. So it's been part of my story in my life for quite some time.
I love that that little nugget that your dad like planted in your mind at 12 is now leading you to kind of this, this momentous time of your life. That's awesome.
He definitely, I'm sure, did not expect me to go ahead and start my own car company, but I think it always starts with someone giving you permission to think bigger. That was what that started for me, was a desire to think of something more, not only for me, not only for the industry, but also for the country.
Yeah, I mean, so a dream that you had at 12 is now coming to fruition decades later. Walk me through engineering degree to starting a luxury car company. What happens in between?
So I got my degree in computer and electrical engineering and immediately went into the defense industry and really learned a lot about big hardware, big hardware, planes, ships, big hardware, also about quality, also about really large companies and how they operate. Spent a few years in that space and then decided to totally shift gears and go into the startup world. Complete opposite, very software oriented. So less about hardware, more about, SaaS. And I learned there how to be a leader, how to run a team, how to build a team, how to scale a team, eventually what the startup world looked like, how to raise capital, and found my way back into a kind of a combination of hardware and software after many years, and eventually found my way to Mirror, where I was the CTO. We took that company, I was there from 2018 to early 2023. And I took that company from early prototype all the way through, obviously through a sale with Lululemon, in 2020, and then ultimately transitioned the company over to a public entity, and being a part of Lululemon. So kind of came full circle, learning again a lot about large companies and how they operate, but taking with me a lot of my startup experience. And through that journey, have learned some very important things about what it takes to do what I'm doing now. At Mirror, I ran everything from software and hardware engineering to logistics, supply chain, manufacturing, even product design. I fell under my organization. And so took a lot of learnings as well as my background in larger industries and my experience working at Lululemon on the finance side and really put that into what Dacora is today, which is a hardware company. We are certainly hardware and software, but we also need to operate an industry that is much less like a startup. So how do we find that balance of innovation but structure and compliance, and all the things that go with being an auto company and safety and regulatory and all of that. So there's a lot of my background that has led me to here, but ultimately it's been just a life of learning as much as I can.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions just from that. So let me figure out where I want to start. So, at what point during that career trajectory were you realizing how serious of an opportunity Decorah could be? When did that seed that was planted, when did you start to see it for what it was and see it possibly become a reality?
I think that took many years and many moments. I would say coming out of college was just at the beginning of Tesla.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in my lifetime that someone had started a car company in this country. That was pretty shocking to me. It was a good 8 to 10 years after I had that conversation with my dad, and I remember he and I having conversations about Tesla being like, "Can you believe someone is starting a car company? That hasn't happened in a long time." And so that was a little seed of if someone can do it, maybe I can do it. And then there's little seeds of learning different things, learning how to lead and how to grow a team. Had a team of well over 100 people at Mirror. It's like I can lead large teams and I can feel good about the culture I'm creating with those teams. There were a lot of moments towards the end of Mirror that I started to think about what it is I wanted to do. I wasn't Mirror's founder or co-founder, so it wasn't my vision, it wasn't my baby. And so the question was, what makes me excited to build next? And always circled back to auto, looking at everything I had accomplished and everything I had learned. And I finally had a pretty frank conversation with my husband, which was, are we ready to tell the world that we want to do this? Because in all honesty, it's for me, it was less about convincing myself and more about was I ready to admit to everyone what I wanted to do because you open yourself up to the failure of it. And certainly in the startup world, starting your own business, being an entrepreneur, failure is somewhat inevitable. You're going to fail at something. Whether it's, the whole venture or parts of it, failure is part of the journey. And
Mhm.
so had to have that conversation, had to do it with a 1-year-old baby, and had to do it with my husband as my co-founder and have our whole family in this venture. I think we took a good hard look at the state of the industry and the state of what we thought where innovation could be and technology and decided it was the right time for us.
Did you feel like the stakes were higher because this was something that had never been done by a woman in America, at least that we know of?
I have looked far and wide, to see if any woman has done this before,
Yeah.
and if there is a woman that's done this before, we we applaud the effort for sure. But the honest truth is that there's never been someone that has done this on such a public stage. And so, regardless if it's the first or not, I think the publicity of it was meaningful. So I think for me, that reality made it more clear, but it certainly it makes it difficult. We know that about 3% of all venture capital goes to women founded businesses. Automotive takes an exceptional amount of capital to get off the ground. And so, with those numbers, I'm already starting at a deficit. That said, I've had fantastic investors to date, most of them women, believing in this journey and in me. Hopefully that changes. And VCs see that there is an opportunity here. But in general, we know that there is an extreme discrepancy when it comes to venture founded companies and women founders. That definitely makes it more difficult. That definitely makes it more challenging to get to our ultimate goal. But there's a lot of ways that we can be creative, and women are nothing if not resourceful, and women founders to the nth degree. And so we find other ways to accomplish those goals, whether that's through unconventional capital sources, achieving profitability sooner. There are other ways that we get around that discrepancy. We don't give up, that's for sure.
You, like, saw the landscape and had to anticipate for, I think, so much more than your average startup or your average woman starting a new company. You had that landscape, you had to talk through it with your husband. You also see only men in this arena, right? Like, you look around the room, there's no other woman that you can find who has done something to this scale. What was it like kind of stepping into such a male-dominated arena? I mean, you said you specifically went after female investors, having that kind of support. I mean, the challenges must have been astronomical, and correct me if I'm wrong, you must have felt a little bit more pressure as a woman, as the only woman, in a sea of car companies that have traditionally been led and founded by men.
To set the stage a little bit for you, I've always been in a male dominated
Mm.
industry. So, as a computer and electrical engineer, and certainly a woman in leadership in those positions in that industry, I've always been a minority. Even a woman in engineering, you're pretty much a minority. It felt like one more step on that path, but certainly I didn't go from working in an industry that was completely female oriented to switching over. So it wasn't as big of a leap, but it certainly was a step further being a female founder in an automotive venture. Now there are certainly some women in the industry. Mary Barra is a great example. She obviously leads GM, and that's fantastic for women in auto. And so there are examples of women out there, but it certainly doesn't make these conversations any easier. That said, I have found the automotive industry to be very welcoming, even though it is run primarily by men. They just love cars. Like everyone in the industry just loves cars. Everyone's just a kind of a little kid at heart in this industry, in all honesty. And they have been so welcoming to a new brand. I honestly could not have imagined that. In consumer electronics, that is not the case. No one wants competition. No one's really that excited when new brands enter. But in auto, we have a lot of people rooting for us that I was not expecting. We have a lot of companies that have come and said, we hope you succeed. We want to see you succeed. They know how hard it is, but they're certainly in our corner, which is really nice. So I have not found the industry to be oppressive because I'm a woman. One of the hardest things, honestly, has really been the VC industry. That's certainly been the hardest. But the auto industry, if you build a cool car and you love to talk about cars, they want to sit and they want to chat and they want to see it. Doesn't really matter who you are. So that's been nice. And because that is our culture and that's what we love, it's felt very nice and welcoming.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I've looked at pictures of your cars, I've read the specs, like, they must be such, nerds about how beautiful the car is, and I'm gonna give you a chance to share and show off a little bit about, the uniqueness of your car.
People definitely get excited when they see the design of it. It was designed in collaboration with Pininfarina in Italy, which was just a fantastic opportunity for us. And what a wonderful organization! They're exceptional at what they do. So our design is vintage inspired, 1930s, early 1940s inspired, but brought into a modern era. And I think people, when they get up close to it and they see the all wood hood that harkens back to my love of American woodies, and they see kind of the detail, and it's a huge car. In all honesty, just the size and the presence of it, people do want to talk about it. Cars are art, and all art is subjective. And so we get a lot of people that want to sit and talk about it as if you're sitting in a museum talking about a painting, and they want to dissect components of it and tell you what they love and what they see in it and what inspiration they find. And that's just been so cool. While we were out in Monterey for Monterey Car Week, we had someone come and just sit with me for about an hour and just talk about what he saw in the car. And that's been really special. Just seeing what other people see in your art. So I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that part of it, but it's been a really nice way to create relationship with either clients or with other partners, or even just people who admire it. It's been a really beautiful way to connect.
Why go the EV route for this?
Yeah, when we started this over 2 years ago, there were a lot of people that said there is no market for an ultra luxury EV. The industry doesn't want it. The numbers were questionable. Even now, if you look at the numbers, people will say people don't want it. The reality is, we didn't go out to create an EV. We went out to create the best ultra luxury car. And one of the things that is prized in this segment of the auto industry is silence inside the cabin and smooth ride. And both of those things kind of come standard with an electric powertrain. So there are certainly some things that we took into consideration, range being a big one of them. We knew that we needed a lot of range to make people feel comfortable. Car is spec to have 400 or a little bit more miles of range. It's a big car with a lot of space for batteries. And so, it's great. It's one of the things that we made sure we had to try and ease any concerns that people might have with the EV range. But in terms of power and quiet and the ride, that was absolutely a no-brainer when it came to choosing our powertrain. We didn't set out to be on an EV mission. We set out to create the best ultra luxury car we could. And I will say that in the last 2.5 years, our client conversations have changed tremendously. People are much, much more open to entertaining the idea. And even those that are skeptical, we challenge them to go for a ride and see what it's all about before they make a decision. And get a lot of converts that way.
Right, it sounds like you're not even marketing the EV part as much as you're marketing that quiet, comfortable ride, and the EV part is just kind of a bonus for those who want it, but also, like, the quietness and the silence and the comfort that you're getting is just that's what you get in an ultra luxury car.
It's the experience. I'm not here to
Right.
sell anyone on a mission. I'm here to sell you the best ultra luxury car I can make. It just happens to have an electric powertrain. We think it's the best option right now, and if that changes, we will be sure to keep that in mind as we progress the company. But for now, this is our best option to produce the best vehicle we can, and people definitely respond to that.
Yeah. So walk me through where you are, what stage you're in right now. I know that you've got a production facility, I think, being built in the Hudson Valley. When can we expect these cars on the market? Give me the lowdown.
Yeah, so we just debuted our interior for the first time at Monterey Car Week a couple weeks ago. So our car is now publicly viewed from both the exterior and the interior. We will break ground on our manufacturing facility in the Hudson Valley sometime early next year, early 2026, and we do hope to have cars coming off the line by the end of 2027. Making good progress. We have a large number of clients who are on this journey with us, waiting for their cars to come off the line. And so we have kind of a couple of year journey with them. And with that, we have some great events and activations and a journey to bring them on. And so it'll be really exciting for them to be a part of this with us over the next couple of years. But primarily, we have a lot of engineering and homologation ahead of us, which is the automotive regulatory process. From there, really, it's scaling up that manufacturing facility. So we're excited about being in the Hudson Valley. We've had our eye on property for quite some time, and it's always been an area that's been close to my heart, and I think really embodies what we're doing at Dacora, especially with our handcraft, high quality perspective on automotive manufacturing. We're in touch with a lot of folks in the area, and there's a lot of fantastic partners who've been so welcoming to us in the Hudson Valley, and we'll look forward to scaling and bringing on tons of new individuals and starting new jobs in the area. So we're excited. There's going to be a lot of growth in Hudson over the next few years, and we're excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I know there's a waiting list. I don't know if you
There
can still
is.
get on the waiting list, but
You can. Our first run will be at the end of 2027. It'll be a limited edition because that's always nice to do for your first early clients. We are now taking, if you want to get on those first 50, you might have to buy a seat from someone, but but we are taking the orders for the following year as well. So we're selling well into our second year at this point.
How do you market to this ultra luxury customer, or do you even market to them?
A lot of what we do is not marketing, it's relationship building and
Right.
it's trust. We're a new automotive brand. At the end of the day, we're still building a car that has to drive you from point A to point B, and you still trust it with your life in a lot of ways. And so this is a relationship that we need to build with each client, especially early on, and we need to build their trust. So we're still very young. We've had very few physical touch points with these clients with the car, and so a lot of this is done through close connection and conversation with me, with my client relations team, and then obviously getting in person with people. I will tell you that most conversations are word of mouth. Oh, I heard about this from my friend, or I saw this at this event, or someone told me about it from this event. And so we're pretty strategic about where we go and who we partner with. But mostly it's relationship building. We're a direct to client, direct to consumer brand. That's really different for the auto industry, especially at this price point. But we believe that creating those relationships and connection with our clients are is irreplaceable. It's a big part of what we're going to do long term. And hopefully that will give them early conviction in what we're doing. So
Mhm.
we've seen it amount to such, but hopefully that continues.
And along the same lines, the name Dacora, which I believe is a combination of you and your husband's last names, how do you how do you want people to feel when they hear that?
That's a good question. Um, yeah, I think we want people to feel a deep sense of connection to their car. Every car is one of one. We want it to feel very much like you. So our car does not have a name. It's model 001 for a reason. Every single car will be commissioned and christened like a yacht. It will actually have your name put on the side because we believe each car is that personal. And so, as is our relationship with each client. And so, that I think above all else is what we want people to feel. We want them to feel a deep sense of connection, not only to their car, to us as a brand, and ultimately to the experience they'll have in it.
That's really cool. What has it been like having your husband as a co-founder?
My husband and I have worked together for, oh gosh, 20 years now.
Yeah.
We started as classmates long before we were ever in a relationship. And so our friendship grew out of work, honestly. It's where we connect the most. And doesn't matter if we're at the same company or different companies, we will always be building together. And so being able to actually be on this journey with him directly as my co founder has been really, honestly, really exceptional as we've both grown so much. In a marriage, you both grow. That's just inevitable. But this has pushed us both to grow a ton, and to do it alongside one another has really allowed us to grow deeper in our relationship, and of course, raise our daughter together. Everyone knows this is a family business for me, and I treat everyone that works for me the same way. We do not go anywhere not as a family unit. And I think that that's not only really important for everyone to see, but for female leaders to see, that that is possible.
Mhm. Yeah, I will tell the audience that Kristie is currently sitting in her car while her husband and daughter are, touring a car museum, so
That's
it
right.
really is a family unit. Um,
It's
how do you guys split kind of the responsibilities? What are his strengths? What are your strengths?
Yeah, my husband is a mechanical engineer by trade. He has been taking things apart and fixing things since he could literally walk. This has always been his love and his passion is cars. He restored a 1970 Mercedes when he was in high school, I think before he even got his license. He has restored a Model T with his father throughout his childhood. And so cars are in his blood. He lives and breathes everything there is about cars. For example, we are trying to take a short family vacation. And during my daughter's nap yesterday, what did he want to do? But he wanted to do a tire rotation. I wish I could make that up. But this is what he loves. And so he is our CTO. He runs everything on the engineering side. He has a ton of experience, not only in leading engineering teams, manufacturing, supply chain, but obviously also his passion for auto. My experience is much more on the engineering side and quite honestly the leadership side. And so I do take point on software. That is my experience with software. But ultimately, he makes technical decisions, and I make all the broader decisions for the company, whether it's finance, product, design, marketing, sales, etc. So yeah, that's how we divvy it up. In all honesty, we're very rarely at odds, and if we are, it comes down to a conversation with the team. And if we can't decide with each other, we don't agree. It's usually then a broader discussion of that needs more input. So our team's great, and they give their honest feedback to us, and we usually make it then as a collective decision.
How big is your team now?
We're about 10 at this
Okay.
point. I run lean teams, really lean teams. So, when we sold Mirror to Lululemon, I had I had like 12 engineers on staff. And at the same time, Peloton had gone public about a year prior and they had like 800 engineers on staff. So I do run very lean teams. I like it that way. I ask a lot of my engineers. They know that about me. I ask them to think not only as engineers, but as product leaders, as salespeople. I ask them to think of a lot of different hats. And I think it makes for stronger engineering teams. So we're small, but we're mighty, and they've accomplished just so much in such a short time.
How do you encourage them to stay motivated and to dip their hands in, all sorts of things when you want a lean team like that? They have to, have the skills and the ability and the motivation to do a lot across sectors. How do you keep them motivated?
Well, I think it always starts with finding the right people that understand what an organization will expect of them. But I think every engineer that works for me knows that I will ask you to think about our client most of the time. Nearly all of the time, we're going to think client first. And every single person on this planet is a client of some product, right? Is a consumer of some product. So you know what it means to be a consumer. So it shouldn't be that far outside your wheelhouse to think of that. And I think sometimes engineers think about what's a simple solution for engineering or what's cost effective or, what's easiest to get done. And so I do challenge them to think like the consumer of the car first and then like the engineer. And if they run into challenges, that's when we can have a conversation. Oh, it's going to cost more or it's going to take longer. That's when you come to me and you say this, but I want you to think about the client first and then we'll talk about trade-offs. So for everyone, I think they can lean on their own personal experience. And then, for others, asking them to step outside comfort zones or to step into other aspects of engineering, those are fantastic growth opportunities. And, I think we just level set with everyone around what high performance looks like. And if you're stepping outside your comfort zone, we do not expect perfection in any way. We just expect you to try. It's really just a lot about setting expectations and allowing people the space and the comfort to grow.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you're a founder, you're a CEO, you're an engineer, but you're
Mhm.
also a wife and a mom, which we talked about. So, what are the kind of boundaries or rituals that you put in place to really protect your time and energy? And I used to ask the question, what are your non-negotiables when it comes to work-life balance? And I've tweaked the question now because I don't think that there is such a thing as work-life balance. So I've rephrased it to anything that you put in place to really protect your time and your energy.
A good question. And I agree with you. I think work life balance is an outdated expression. For me, like I said, my husband and I are going to build no matter what. This was always our life. And so this is what we love to do. We love to build and we love to think about building. It just happens to be this company that we're building now. I do like to protect my mornings. Last year, I decided I really wanted something to be able to sit and do in the morning. And so I took up crochet, which I'd never done before, and has been really lovely, especially as we do travel a lot. And so on plane rides, it's really nice. So I do like to have something to do, and I like my mornings to myself. I like to cook. My husband and I both love to cook. and we do protect our weekends at all cost. And so my weekends are filled with a lot of meal prep for during the week so we can operate our week as productively as possible. And then non-negotiable, absolutely non-negotiable that everyone knows is Sundays are family. And I spend it with my extended family. I have two sisters, my brother-in-laws, my niece, my nephews, my parents, my grandmother, and we protect that time like crazy. To the point where if you have flown in to be, with the team, so if I have team members that are flying in or in town and have business to attend to on Sundays, they come to family dinner. That is non-negotiable. So if you want to see me on Sunday, you're going to see me and my whole family. And that's just kind of how we do things. So
Yeah.
we do protect our weekends and most importantly, protect our Sundays.
Right, and it's not like, you're on vacation right now, you protect your weekends, but your co-founder is still, your husband. So it's not like you don't talk about the business. Like, there's not a moratorium on talking about the business while you're on vacation or while
No,
you're at family dinner, right? It's just always part of the conversation, even if you might not be, like, drafting emails and, making big decisions. It's still always kind of at the forefront of your conversations.
it is in some ways. There are, of course, some parts of the business where you're like, oh, that's definitely a problem for next week that I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about right now. And we'll say that to each other. We'll be like, that one we're gonna table for a couple of days. But there's a lot of things to talk about. Everything from day-to-day minutia of operating a business to big dreams. And so pick and choose. There are some things that we will set down for the evening and be done with. And then there are some things that we'll pick up and it'll be time to think about. So I think a broad stroke of do we talk about the business? It doesn't reflect how many different aspects of our business and life we can talk about. We love what we do. Even if we're on vacation, obviously cars are a big part of our life. We love cars. Sitting at a car museum, right? This is what we wanted to do today. And so inevitably you're going to go and you're going to talk and think about, what we're building as well. And so there's different aspects of it, and getting bogged down in day-to-day minutia and decisions can make it feel very businesslike all the time. So we do like to zoom out a little bit and think about the bigger picture and the dreams and, the aspirations, and that keeps it exciting too.
What's the last thing that you crocheted?
I'm actively crocheting a picnic blanket.
Okay.
So it's very sweet. This is only my second blanket. I did tackle quite an adventurous first project, but really caught my attention. So took me a good long while, but now I'm into my second one, and my niece has already asked me for one for her bed, so I'm gonna have to get on
Yeah,
that.
I feel like the requests, like, start
They're
coming
gonna
once you get
start
one done.
coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Okay, my last question for you before I let you go is looking ahead, what's the legacy that you hope Dacora leaves behind, not just in the automotive world, but also for just future generations of female leaders?
Well, I think for female leaders, it's very much about believing that you can be in any industry and not letting an industry define your vision of what it can be. So representation does matter. Seeing people like you in industry matters. And so I think hopefully I will inspire more women to get into automotive, for companies to think more about women as the primary consumer, which they are, in fact. And I hope that it inspires a generation of female engineers. I didn't have a lot of engineering role models as a kid. It didn't seem to matter to me, but looking back, it probably would have helped had I had more. And then I hope that Decora for the industry as a whole encourages the industry to be a little more innovative and a little more female focused in terms of product development. A lot of times we get pitched that safety for our family is the only thing we care about in the auto industry. You'll see that a lot in ads. Oh, mom cares about, that her kids are safe in the back seat and crash test ratings. And of course, those things are incredibly important to both moms and dads. But it is certainly not the only thing that makes up what's important to a female in the auto industry. And how we talk about that and how we're marketed to. And I hope that that trickles down well beyond the ultra luxury category.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what comes out of this, and we'll have to have you back on, once your cars start getting off the line. And
Amazing.
I had a great time with this conversation. Thank you so much, Kristie, for being so open. I will let you get back to your vacation with your family. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please go to womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review our show. Lastly, if you're a female retail leader interested in joining our community at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, visit womeninretail.com/apply. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.